Angie from Little Dumplings Nursery. Welcome back to my nursery. So today on this video, we're going to be testing some paints, some new heat set paints from Irresistibles called they call them the IRHSP paints. And you probably, if you've been following my YouTube channel, have seen over the last week or two, I had played around with these paints a little bit using some odorless thinner that is from Eco House. Oops, sorry. This is the Eco House Extra Mild Citrus Thinner that I use, that I have now found is a wonderful replacement with my Genesis heat set paints. For I don't no longer have to worry about using odorless thinners, because odorless thinners I'm allergic to. So this I can use with no problems. And I tried it in with these paints and it works somewhat, but it did not allow the paints to fully dissolve using this alone, to where the paints could then get a good color transfer to the vinyl. So I talked to Esther via Facebook chat. She has reached out to me and told me that she really thought that for the way I was using the paints, that I needed to get some of the thinning medium. When I bought the intro kit from her, all it came with was paints and the matte varnish. It does not come with the thinning medium. And so, oh, and it also came with the primer. And so she has just generously sent me a bottle of the, or jar, I guess you call it, of the thinning medium, so that I could do my painting and testing with this and get good, accurate results. So that's what we're going to be doing together today. So the first thing with the, and I'm going to turn my camera now so that you're looking at my workspace and you won't see me. So if you ask questions, I'm not going to be able to see them, but I'll try to flip it back up and answer any at the end or whatever. So let me bring my camera down some. Let's see here. And bring it down that way. Yeah, and also if I bring it down some, hopefully I'll get some of the glare from the lighting off of it as well. There. Maybe that's a pretty good angle. Alrighty. So what I have done here, I have taken my little scrap piece of vinyl that I started with, and I have primed it with the primer. So the Irresistibles heat set paint comes with a primer, and it is highly recommended that you prime your vinyl first. This seals off any slick spots, oily spots, or anything that may cause your paint not to adhere well. And I personally think it, no matter what brand of paint you're using, that it's good to prime. So I always use some kind of primer. I learned that from my air dry painting days, that primer is very important. It keeps your paints, it makes your paint stick better, and it also keeps them from being sucked into the vinyl. If you've got a vinyl like some of the China vinyls that produced out there, that can just suck the paint right up and it almost disappears after you put it on. So this helps with that kind of thing. So these are the colors. Let me bring these over here so you guys can see them. This is your blue, and I'm turning them upside down so y'all can see the color. This is the blue, the primary blue. This is the vein. This is the yellow ochre. And as you can see, these are very, looking at them in the jars, they're very colorful. This is the strawberry blush. This is the primary red. This is, I believe, the eyelid purple. Olive purple. This is your burnt umber. This is your wine, which is kind of falling down in the jar, but there's the wine. White. And then we have a little bit of flesh. You can see it there. So these jars are not full by volume. She says that they are sold by weight. So you may get a jar like this one, that if the paint, they weigh it, and that's how much paint you get. So the paint may not completely fill up the jar. That's the way they send them out. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and pick a color. I'm going to pick 2 or 3 colors. I want to start with the blue because that was one of the colors, the primary blue that I played with before, that I had trouble because it was not dissolving well in just the thinner form, just the citrus thinner for me. So I wanted to do that. And I want to play with a couple of other colors, like we'll say the strawberry blush. And what else would be a good color? Maybe primary red, because everybody wants to know what red looks like. And that's a red wine. We'll do those. I may add more to it. We're going to start with that because what I want to do is kind of mimic painting on this as if I were painting a baby. So what I was told by Esther is that it's fine to add a few drops of my citrus thinner, but that I needed to put some of the thinning medium, the IRHSP thinning medium, in the mix, and that would make the paints dissolve and flow better. She also told me that I was probably not using enough paint in my mix. Now, I was using very minute toothpick amounts because that's what I was used to doing with Genesis. But let me preface this by saying that regardless of what brand of new kind of heat set paint you are using, all heat set paints are not the same. So even though they may be compatible to Genesis, even though you might can mix them with your Genesis, and even though you might can layer them with your Genesis, they don't necessarily work the exact same way as Genesis. So you have to mix them according to whatever directions comes with your paint system in order to make it work. So I think the first big mistake that a lot of us have made is assuming that we're getting something that is just like Genesis. It's not. Even Genesis cannot and has not been able to come up with something that is just like the Genesis they first had, which is why their new line was met with some resistance and a lot of people don't like it. So keep that in mind, that we're not, we do have a heat set paint system here to work with, but it is not necessarily going to perform exactly the same way, and we have to get into that learning curve and figure out how we can best use it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, let's see, I've got my citrus thinner, some of it in a bottle here too. So I'm going to start with the blue that you saw me play with several times already. And many of us, what we did when we were doing our Genesis is we would just get a brush stroke of color. So I'm going to start with a brush stroke of color. And I'm going to, let me move these over. I'm going to put that on my palette. And I can tell you right now, I'm probably going to need more than that. There we go. And then to that, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of drops of odorless thinner. Now this is, I'm kind of doing this the way that I saw a lady do it in Mexico that's on one of the videos that Esther has in her Facebook group. And I can't remember who the person was. I'm just doing a couple of drops. But if you join that group, she's got a lot of things on there to help you. Well, it looks like I must have had something left from the last time I painted on that brush because it's got brown mixed in it. Not good. Alrighty, let me grab a paper towel. Let's start over. Sorry about that. Things just happen this way sometimes. You clean my brush right quick. I don't want to cause any problems here. We want to make sure I mix this just right. So let me start over. With Genesis, I got used to leaving my brushes and just pulling them back out and reusing them. So I don't know with these paints if you can do that or not. I honestly have not asked. All right, let me try it again. Alrighty. This is the glory of live video, as you see all my mistakes. All right, so there's my paint color. Now you can see that is a little resistant to mixing. And that was the problem I was having before using just the thinner. So the solution is, I'm going to grab a toothpick over here. Where's my toothpicks? Yeah. Oh, they're right in front of me. Good Lord, if it had been a snake, it would have bit me. So the solution is to use some of the Irresistibles Heat Set Paint Thinner, which is what Esther sent me. And, well, good Lord, where did I put it? Thinner, thinner. These bottles all start looking alike after a few minutes. Flesh yellow. Primer. Oh, good grief. I just had it in my hand. There it is. I'm telling y'all, it looks just like the paint. It's hard to get it. See which is which. All right, so this is the thinning medium. And it is, I'm stirring it up. It's thick. So you can see that. So we're going to put, now the lady in the video said you just needed a little bit. So we'll just start with just a little bit. So there's that. We'll see how that does. I don't want to waste it because there's no point in using more than you need. So let's try mixing that in. So yes, now my paint is completely dissolving. So that does completely and totally solve that issue. Now, if I were painting veins with this blue, I would not use a big old brush like I've got here in my hands, but I'm probably going to just for the sake of this so that we can see it on the video. So let's see if we were doing. Can you see that? It's faint. Now, if I were doing veins or blue undertones, that's as much color as I would want, probably. Maybe a tad more. I want to push this a little bit more to see how much color I can get out of it. So we'll put a little more blue in here. Now mixed with the thinning medium from Irresistibles, everything's completely melting. I call it melting or dissolving. It does take on a slight milky look to it. Now those of you that are air dry painters are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. When you mix a fluid medium, a matte medium, or gel medium, or any kind of medium in with your air dry paints, they go milky looking. And then when the paints are cured, they go completely translucent clear again. So I have no doubts in my mind it's probably the same with this, that once this is heat set, that these are going to go translucent clear again. So that is the blue. It is a faint translucent blue. It is a blue that you can see, but it's not dark like an air dry blue would be. Or I said dark, vibrant, as concentrated, whatever you want to say. I'm just going to kind of put it on the corner there. So there's that color if I were doing a blue undertone right there. And it's not showing up on my camera as good. But there it is. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little thinner in a cup so that I've got something to rinse my brush off. I'm going to rinse my brush off. We're going to move on to another color. Let's try the red wine. So I'm going to put some of the red wine. We get a good sized brush full, like that much. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to add some of my odorless or citrus thinner. And then I'm going to grab a little toothpick of the thinning medium. Whoops. See if I can get that to drip off so I don't have to. So I can keep reusing the toothpick. Come on. This stuff's a little on the thicker side. It's kind of like honey. There we go. We got a good drop that time. And I'm going to recap it. Set this aside and mix. So once again, it's dissolving completely. So that is the key. If you want to use your thinning medium, your odorless thinner, or your citrus thinner that you normally use with Genesis, you're going to need to add a little drop of the Irresistible Heat Set Thinning Medium to get it to where it will dissolve. So now I'm going to get a modeling sponge. Now my modeling sponges are clean and dry, but they are stained from having been used before. So this is a modeling sponge that I use a lot of times, obviously, for reds. So we're going to take this modeling sponge and put this red wine on it. And we're going to see what it looks like on the belly plate. So I'm not going to go over there where I put that little bit of blue. I'm going to go around it just so that we can see. Now that is showing up very well. Very well. That's interesting that the blue, I guess I just need to add more of the blue pigment to that to get a darker blue. But that red wine is showing up very well. Yay! Well, this is very encouraging because this is 10 times better than the last experience I had with these. So that is obviously a very vibrant model pattern. Let me see if I can get it. There you go. There you can see it. And you can see the blue over there in what I call the underarm area. So that blue, even though blue is known as being a strong color, that is more translucent, like what you would want, like I said, for blue undertones and whatnot. So I just dipped it in there after having that in the red. So that kind of, I just realized that, but oh well, kind of went purple on me. Anyway, I'm going to leave that right there. So there's your model with the red wine. So, and then I'm going to go clean my brush again. I really wanted to try that strawberry color. So here's the strawberry blush. I'm going to get a brush full of that. Try not to get too much because I don't want to waste this stuff. Alrighty. I'm going to put some of my odorless thinner right here in this well. Or I say odorless, it's citrus actually. Here's my strawberry blush. Okay. And then I need the little bit of the thinning medium. That's interesting how just a drop of that thinner makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Okay. Now, here's my brush. Stir it up. That's a pretty color as well. So let me bring this in so you can see. There's, I don't want to tilt it too much, but there's the blue. There's the red wine, and this is the strawberry blush. So the strawberry blush, now I'm going to get another mottling sponge and put some on it and do it right next to the one I just did. I might can do one the other side of this one. Yeah, I can do the other side of this one. So let me paint that on my sponge. These are those Equest horse sponges. I order them from Dover Saddle something Saddle, Dover Saddle anyway. Dover something Saddle. All right, so let me do a mottling with that. So this one is a lighter color than the red wine, obviously. It's a really pretty color. I like that a lot. Oh yeah, very much so. Let's see. That one's more subtle, so let me see if I can get it. Now I could mix it stronger if I wanted it stronger. Can you see right in here the light modeling versus the very red modeling? This is the red wine. This is the strawberry. So that looks good. So that is very good. This is so much better than the last time I played with these. So much better. All right, so I'm rinsing my brush out again. And let me get the regular red. Let's see the difference, because regular red is one that we all always wonder about, because that's the one that if anybody's going to have problems with fading, it's going to be your reds. So let's go with the regular red. So there's some red on my brush. Gonna add a little odorless thinner, citrus thinner. All right, melt that down. I may not have put enough pigment in that, but we'll see. I won't really know till I add the thinning medium because it clumps up on the brush. All right, let's see. Let me get some of the thinning medium. Add a drop of this. So I have a suggestion for you, Esther, if you watch this video. I don't know if it'll pour out of a squirt bottle, but that might be a good way to have this thinning medium as in a bottle that we could squirt drops out. Just a suggestion. Or I guess we could transfer it to a squirt bottle. Because, yeah, I'm trying to just use a drop, and I don't want to waste any of it. Because it doesn't take a lot. It does not take a lot using it in these little wells, using that amount. I'm not having to add more than a drop off of a toothpick. Alrighty, and then I'm going to mix that I just added. That immediately takes all the graininess out of the paint that was there that I had with the other thinner. So there's your red. So that's primary red. If you can see the difference between red wine, strawberry blush, and now primary red. So now we'll do the primary red on this end of it. I don't know how much modeling I'll actually get on that end, but we'll try it anyway. That sponge is not, that end of it's a little funky. Whoops, I dropped it. So that is, as I would expect, it's literally a shade darker than the strawberry blush, but not as dark as the red wine. And it still models very well. You're not going to be able to see it in here because of my lighting issues. But you're just going to have to take my word for it. It is much better. I'll have to take a picture and post it. It'll be on my Facebook page so you guys can see it. And I'll put the link to it on the YouTube video because I don't think I can load a picture on the YouTube comments. So what I need to do now is to heat set this at 265 degrees for 9 minutes. And then I can go over it with their matte varnish and we can see how the matte varnish looks. I need to play that blue. One thing about the citrus thinner that I use is it's more of an oil-based thinner than odorless thinner is. So it does not evaporate quite as fast as odorless mineral spirits does. So it gives you a little more working time with it. Alrighty, so let me heat set that. I'm going to stop the video now because I can't, I don't want to leave you hanging for 9 minutes while I do that. But just let me say that I am so very encouraged. It made a huge difference adding 1 drop of the irresistible heat set paint thinning medium to the mix along with my odorless thinner, or in my case, the citrus. Let me show you that again for those that joined me late. The extra mild citrus thinner is what I use because that's the only one I'm not allergic to. Made a huge difference in how the paints performed. Before I was worried that there was not enough pigmentation in them because I just wasn't getting enough color transfer, but I see now it was because the color was not dissolving well without the thinning medium. Now, I will say this blue is not as concentrated as I would have thought using the amount I used. So if I go back and add, let's say I put some over here in my well and just add a little bit of that to it so that I've got much stronger concentration of it. It's just one of those colors that if you really wanted a lot of blue, like if you were, and the reason I'm saying this is not because I would be painting veins this color, but let's say I wanted to do an avatar baby and I wanted to do a lot of blue for that reason, then it's going to have to be mixed more concentrated like that with less thinning medium. So if I take that now and let me tilt my camera back down some. Let's see if I take that and paint it right across that crease. There you go. There. That gives me a lot of color. So it's going to take just playing with them and trying to figure out. Some of them are going to mix differently than others. Some of them you're going to need to mix it a little bit stronger with a little less thinner, odorless thinner or citrus thinner, as is my case, to get the intensity that you want. A couple of things I do want to mention about this paint system that Esther did point out to me is that they have been tested for light, what do they call it, light fastness, and her varnishes have light stabilizers in them to make them UVL resistant. That is a huge thing. I always have advised people when you're buying a varnish to go for one that has UVL protection. Some paints have UVL protection and some don't. If you get a really, really good pigment system, a paint with a really good pigment system, the pigments in and of themselves will have a certain amount of UVL protection or light fastness from the fact of the kind of quality pigments they are. But to truly protect them, they need some UVL protectants added. And so that's why I tell people to always look for a varnish that has the UVL protectant in it. And so I was very happy when she told me that this does. And I know from testing the matte varnish that I liked it, but I'm going to actually, like I said, go bake this piece here that we've painted on today and then put the varnish over it. And I'll come back and do a quick, like 5-minute video with that and show you that. So I'll catch you in a few minutes.